All right, it says I'm live. I don't know if I am or not. I won't know until one of you tell me. So somebody here in the first 30 seconds, get in here and tell me whether I'm live. Tell me if the audio is good, if the video is good, or whatever. Hope you guys are out there. If you're not, then let me know if you're not out there. But come on in, everybody. Push in, get into the room. Let's get in here. Type into the comment section where you are, what's going on. Say hi, be friendly, etc. Otherwise, I got to sit here and wait. Find out if we're live, find out if anybody's listening, if the audio is working, if I've got the microphone on, etc. So I'll just wait. Hopefully everything's going good. My name is Michael Bunker. Welcome to the Bunker Nation Show. I'm going to be your host for the evening. How's it going? All right, good. Live sounds good. Everybody's getting the audio and the video. Come on in here and type in the comment section. Everybody push in, push in. Don't worry about social distancing. Don't worry about mask. I got mine here, but just in case, mainly for my allergies. But come on in and type where you are. Looks like Ethan's here in Alaska. Hava's here in Miami. I don't know where Travis is, but good to see you, Pat. Montana. Good to see you, Daniel's in Michigan. Everybody's doing good. All right, everybody. Like I said, my name is Michael Bunker. This is the Bunker Nation. Glad you guys could be here. As always, we're here to talk about whatever you want to talk about. So you can type your comments, questions, topics, anything you want to talk about into the comment section. And until then, we're going to do the box thing. And after we do the box thing, we'll sit around and talk. All right, we're back. So it looks like we're here. Looks like things are working. It's a little cold. Just got back from a long horse ride. And for those of you who don't know, I started riding. We've had horses here for a while, for years and years and years, but I haven't ridden on them. And so since I knew my daughter, Jennifer, who is the horse master, horse whisperer, was coming, and my daughter, Sarah, who's also very good with horses, was willing to help teach me, I've been taking lessons from my daughters. And so we've been going on long rides. The other day, Jennifer and I went on a 5.2 mile ride, something like that. And then today me and Jennifer and Sarah went on about a 6 mile ride. We're trying to extend it so we get better and better at it. And then eventually, if we need to go to town, if things happen, if there's an interruption, if some type of systemic breakdown happens, we've got horsepower, and we can go to town. So I'm a little tired. It was a very, very long ride, and I'm fairly new at this. So I'm getting better and better. It was wonderful. The temperature was perfect. The weather has been perfect. Blue skies. It was about 67 degrees. A little cold right now, so we're supposed to get down in the 30s tonight. So it was one of those days. We talked about the other day how you can utilize your memories, how you can magnify them or benefit yourself by magnifying the positive elements of your memories. We talked about the halcyon days, the salad days, the times when it's perfect, the gloaming, the evening, when everything is just perfect and you can kind of think about where you are and be in the moment and experience it. I wrote a whole book of time travel stories that is called Time in the Gloaming, about that time in the evening when you know everything's perfect and all that, which is like my favorite part of the day. Well, today when we were riding, it was that. The temperature was perfect. Rode out when we first left. I had a hoodie on. Made a joke about it. Had Jennifer take me a picture because I thought it was very counter or anti Yellowstone. I was wearing a Orange County Chopper hoodie. And then it started to get warm, so I took the hoodie off. And the temperature was just perfect. Blue skies, sun low in the sky because we were getting into late November, orange, yellow tint on things, long shadows. It was just gorgeous. The temperature was just absolutely perfect. And we would ride, and we would every once in a while break into a trot or into a gallop, and we were really, really enjoying ourselves. And then we decided on the way back to take a rest, so we dismounted, little horse lingo for you horse people, and tied the horses off, and then sat around and I take a bota, a Spanish bota full of wine, and so we had a little wine. And so we're going to be extending our trips longer and longer and longer to where we know that the horses are good. They're okay with the cars. They're okay with anything else we encounter, and that we can go far enough that if we need to go to town, we can do it, saddle bags and whatnot. So it's all part of our survival training. On the next ride, we're going to be taking some meal with us, and we're going to sit down. We're going to have a meal. We're going to take some fishing stuff, maybe do some fishing. It's going to be a very Hemingway-esque thing. So that's basically what we've been doing. Today's been, just like I said, been awesome. There's always some give and some take. Everything's going on in the world. We're watching the election debacle, and it seems like more and more every day that thing's going to drag out. Don't know how that's going to end up. The COVID things, as we predicted. In fact, I meant to go back today. There's a video I did in March, late March, where I specifically said everything that's going on right now. I talked about the fact that we were going to have some lockdowns. It was going to be uncomfortable. We were going to break out in the summer. Everything was going to be great. People were going to get out and about. It was going to look like things were open again. And people, because of their ceteris paribus fallacy or their other errors in thinking, are going to think, oh, everything's going back to normal. And then we were going to get into the fall. We were going to have a bad election thing. And then we were going to go right back into lockdowns. And that seems to be what's happening in Michigan and Washington State. A few other places are going back into lockdowns. We are anticipating, although not to that extent, we're anticipating some type of rule changes here because especially in our little area, there's been some pretty hard outbreaks. From the very beginning, I've been saying, I believe, first of all, I want to say this again. I don't know anything about the virus. I'm not a virologist. I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm not an expert on anything. I'm not a doctor. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm not an expert, but what I've said from the beginning is I believe pretty much everybody's going to get it, COVID, at some point. I don't know that to be a fact. I have no faith in any type of vaccine and have no intention of taking one. I believe that what we need to do is we need to, like, as a cattleman, I can tell you we need to get herd immunity, and that happens when you hit a certain percentage of the people have it. I think most everybody's going to get it, and I know that that's an unfortunate thing for people that have comorbidities, people that are obese, who have other things that feed into the death count, although all in all, it's pretty low. And so I've basically been saying that all along. I think pretty much everybody's going to get it. So to me, the plan all along should have been to limit and restrict and quarantine the people who are most vulnerable and have everybody else go about their day, understanding what it is and that this is something that happens and it might be difficult for some families. Some people might go through some hardship or some tragic loss, but it's a pandemic. These things happen from time to time. And so I've kind of expected that all along. Now, as I say that, my wife has been on the front lines as a frontline warrior, a hero from the very beginning. As soon as the thing started, with her history in microbiology and all that, she wanted to rush in there. And she went to work at a COVID lab in Dallas very, very, very early on and worked there for 6 weeks, and then came home and immediately went to work in a nursing home and even working in their COVID lab, their COVID wing. So if anybody's going to end up with it, I think probably we will. Probably, I think most people will over time. So we're dealing with all this stuff, and we're looking at everything that's going on. Trying to make intelligent decisions, as you all are. And so everybody's trying to do that. And what we try to do here on the Bunker Nation show is we try to look at things objectively, try to determine what things are likely to happen. We've already got information today about more tightening down from the stores, tightening down on what people can buy and how much of what you can buy, and people rushing out and buying toilet paper again and all that kind of stuff. Hello, Sandy. Good to see you. Scott, glad to see you. Like I said, Ethan's here. Everybody come in if you're new here, even if you're not. come into the comment section. Just say hi, be friendly. It's one of the things that we do. And then let me know wherever you are. If you are new here, also hit the like button, smash the like button, all those type of things. I appreciate everybody that goes over to YouTube and subscribes. We were, as of the beginning of this show, 1,895 subscribers. We need to hit 2,000 before we start getting some momentum from YouTube, maybe. The three inconsistencies through the ages has been war, famine, and disease. This time isn't any different. You're exactly right. Howdy, Facebook user. Hope everybody's doing okay out there. You guys hit the like button. Get into the comment section if you have a question, a comment, or topic, anything you want to talk about. It's going to be a very, very, very short show. I didn't bring a rant, although there's a million things I can rant about. But I'm still in the afterglow of a wonderful 2-hour horse ride and with my daughters, my adult daughters. It doesn't get any better than that, you know? The only thing that would be better is if my other daughter and my son and their spouses were here and we were all riding together. But me out on a perfect day with my two daughters with a bota full of wine was perfect. A perfect day. I just can't. I'm having a lot of joy with it. It was wonderful. Ethan says he wants to catch it again. I don't know if I had it already. I thought, it's very possible that we all had it back at the very beginning. Jennifer came home sick at one point, and it went through the house, and pretty much everybody got it. And we don't know what that was because that was kind of before anybody was testing anything. And so we were kind of thinking, and nobody in my family's gotten it. So just don't have any clue. Danielle's going to go in tomorrow and get tested, and she's been like in the hot spot. She's been in the actual COVID wing, and she's been in the forefront of this thing since the very beginning, like a little warrior hero. So you guys, prayers up for Danielle, and I want to thank her for her service. She's been doing a lot of good work, and hopefully she doesn't get sick, but I expect at some point she will. All right. My friend in her early 50s and all family under her roof have it. All right. She says it's similar to flu, but longer lasting for all ages. I don't really get sick. I used to get sick all the time. I used to be always sick, and it would always develop into pneumonia when I was young, and then I got my adenoids and my tonsils taken out as an adult. And since then, I really have not had problems. I don't get flu shots. I don't get vaccines. I don't go to the doctor. I've been to the doctor one time in, I don't know, 20 or 30 years. Once. And I don't expect to go back. Ethan says he's tested twice a week for his job. Danielle's tested every week. She was tested on Tuesday and she was negative. And yet they've had some pretty serious issues there, outbreak and all that kind of stuff. So she's going to go in and get tested again tomorrow, I think. That's what she told me. You missed the live feed today from the church. For those who don't know, we do a live feed from our church on Sunday. You missed it today because we did not go to church because we are being extra careful. Because, like I said, Danielle's been in there in the COVID wing of the nursing home working with patients, and we didn't want to take that to church. And so we decided to stay home just as a precaution. I went to the doctor one time in 30 or 35 years. About 2009 or 10, I was down here at the office. I was quite overweight at the time, and I started having chest pains that were pretty bad. And I thought I was having a heart attack, and so I was running around here at the office looking for some aspirin and all that, and it got worse and worse. And I finally had Danielle take me to the emergency room, and they ran a bunch of tests. And I think I had acid reflux. And that was when like I said, I was pretty out of shape at that time and not in really good condition But since then, I haven't been to a doctor. Hadn't been to a doctor before then for 20 years before that either. So it's been a while. All right. Ethan wants to talk about lucid dreams, long and vivid dreams. All right. Lucid dreaming is basically the idea that in some dreams, you not only have very vivid, very remarkably realistic dreams, but you also can be lucid in it, and that you realize you recognize you're in a dream, and you may have a little bit of control over the dream. I have these quite often, and have had for a good part of my life. I may go weeks and weeks and weeks and not even remember dreams. I know that I dream anytime I get into that deep state, but I don't remember them. And then I may go through a period of 3 to 4 or 5 nights in a row where I have very, very lucid dreams. A lot of those, like I said, I'm lucid. I understand that I'm dreaming and those type of things. Just recently, about a week or so ago, I had a series of, and usually when I remember my dream, I wake up and I tell Danielle all about it. And so I had a series of dreams about a week or so ago where it's in the first one, there was a very expansive house that really didn't make a lot of sense. There were like half floors and stuff, and it was an old house. For some reason, it was ours. I don't know why we had it. It was a big mansion house, and it had passageways and all this kind of stuff. And then every dream after that, over the next couple of days, it took place in that house, or it had something to do with that. And they were very, very memorable. I would wake up in the morning and tell Danielle what the dreams were about. I knew that I was dreaming in the dreams. And so they happen. Those things happen. I don't know that I have an explanation for them or what they mean. Although at times, I can recognize why a dream is happening. In other words, there's usually some element of something that happened in the day or something I watched. You know, I watch Narcos Mexico, and I'll have a dream of something to do with narco trafficking or something like that. There's nothing special about it. It is an element of human dreaming. Human dreaming is basically a relaxation state where your mind is reorganizing things and filing things away. And so your very creative elements of your mind kind of explore the depths or the widths of what's available in your memory, things that you brought in. We talked about LLI, low latent inhibition, where your mind brings in all this type of information and most of the time dismisses it, but it still has gathered that information. And so part of dreaming is your mind going through all of that information and filing it in different places and putting things where they need to go. And we interpret those things as kind of dreams. And so because we are very creative a species, we will interpret those things into a time-space element to where we're in it and we're experiencing things. And sometimes they don't make any sense, and then sometimes they're very, very clear, very lucid, and we know exactly what's going on. Yeah. Pardon me. Not COVID. I got allergies. And you can sometimes go back into that space. You can, I wake up sometimes, and if it was something I was enjoying or something that I was interested in, I'll tell myself that I want to go back into that dream space and experience that. I also have been able to make myself dream and dream about specific things as I go to sleep. Sometimes I start off in prayer, and then I'll say, this is what I want to dream about. This is what I want to think about. I have designed entire structures and buildings and stuff in my dreams. Most specifically our root cellar, which we built starting in about 2006 by hand. We dug it by hand through a plate of 6-inch rock, a strata of rock, which we dug through by hand. And I had no idea when we started building it how we were going to build it, how it was going to hold up the weight it needed to hold up. And every night as we were working, I would go to bed and I would ask myself to dream about it and to think about it. and I solved every problem of it while I was sleeping. I would wake up in the morning with what we needed to do the next day. And in every case, I would I would think about, the strength that it needed to be and all that. We actually had an engineer came out here and looked at it and said, if you do these things, this is going to be perfect. Basically you need to build this thing so you could park a 24,000 pound backhoe on top of it. That's how much weight it needs to hold. And so every night I would go to bed and we would have a problem, an engineering problem or something I hadn't thought about. And I would go to bed and I would actually think to myself, I want to dream about this. I want to build. And so your brain can actually use that time when you're sleeping to solve problems. You can tell yourself to do that. You can think about problems and think about, okay, I want my brain to go through the process of solving this problem. So what you actually have 8 hours or however long it is, and maybe 3 hours of that of dreaming, where you can sit there and say, okay, I want to work on this engineering problem. And my brain would go through and think about what would go on top of what and how I would do joinery and how we were going to concrete it and how we were going to pour in the concrete and how all that was going to go on, and solved all of it. And we are now 15 years later, and that root cellar is still solid as a rock. All right, let me scroll up through the messages here. For those of you who are new, you're only going to see comments from the platform where you are. So if you're on YouTube, you'll see YouTube comments. If you're on Facebook, one of the Facebook forums, you're only going to see the comments from the format and the page where you are. So I tried to read those. Ethan's commenting a lot. Hello, Nancy, Bucksport, Maine. All right. Havis says, flying is what triggers be aware the dream is lucid. The time clock checking it is how I know it's a lucid dream. Still freaky. All right. Nancy says, I have had recurring dreams and then the same dream that ends differently. Then I no longer have that original dream. Yeah. All right, there's a conversation going on here. Bad cell reception, so I'm a few minutes behind. No problem. Would be interested in hearing your wife's experience in the nursing home. I hope she's been able to be a comfort. She has been a comfort to many. I know that for a fact. And she's been very, very helpful to a lot of people. And with what's going on right now with COVID and all of that, it's been very, very stressful. And she's been through a lot and seen a lot. And, we'll have to get her on here at some point. But right now, she's been going through a lot. She's very tired, and I think she said she was going to bed early. Hava says, I never tried the lucid dream. It just happened. It was flying. That triggered the awareness. Yeah, not everybody can do it. Not everybody does do it. It's like time travel. It's not for everybody. Primal Man says, recommendations or tips for a young family that wants to move out of the city for rural small town life. First of all, I highly recommend it. First thing that I would do, and what we did when we first came out here, is make a list of things that are valuable to you, things that you're looking for. That there are things that are not up for debate, you have to have, and then all the way down to things that you would like to have. And so for us, our list included we wanted to be in a place where there was not much governmental control, where we could build without having permits, where we were not going to be interfered with. We weren't going to have bureaucrats coming out here telling us we couldn't catch water, or we couldn't dig a hole, or we couldn't build a shed or whatever. So once we determined like where those locations were, the next thing we thought about was how much rain would be ideal, how much would be the least amount where we still could afford the land. And then we basically made a list of all the attributes of the things we were looking for, and that helped us take a map and put a pin in and say, okay, we want to be within 50 miles of right here. That's one good tip of about where you're going to go. The other thing you want to do is you want to start training your family. And the way to do that is to make an adventure out of it. We've talked about it here before. Turn off the power maybe in your house and everybody go camping. ask questions and do it in a fun way. How would we make coffee tomorrow if we didn't have electricity? And then wake up in the morning and don't use electricity, make coffee. And then encourage the children and the wife and everybody else to come up with challenges of how to do things. And then as far as the money, I can't help you on that other than to say that there's a scale of ways that you can do things, from costing almost nothing, which I talk about in my book, Surviving Off Grid, to, if you're rich and you can do it whenever you want to do it. So the advice changes based on your resources. If you don't have much money, but you still want to do it, you can actually move off grid fairly inexpensively, 5 acres or less, and you can start off we started off in a tent, right? How do you do heat? I've got a wood burner down here. We've got a wood burner up at the office. The bunker principle basically says you want 3 ways to do everything. You can have an on-grid way. Nothing that we do is on-grid because we're completely off-grid. Down here at the office, I have some solar power for lights and laptop and internet, and that's at the office here. Up at the cottage, we don't have any electrical power. So our on-grid way up at the cottage is basically the second category, which is propane. We have propane heaters. We can go to town and we can get propane. We can have propane delivered. And then we also have a wood burner. We have wood. We have tons of wood on our land that we can harvest. And so that's how we do heat. I don't generally start a fire down here at the office unless we're in winter and it's going to be below 40, in the 40s or low for a long period of time. But that's generally how we do heat. I also have a propane heater down here that I don't really use. And we've got some backup kerosene heaters and all that. But if things hit the fan, we can't get propane, we've got tons of wood. We could go through a year or two just picking up dead wood. And we've got mesquite and oak and everything else. And we've got wood burning stoves. And that's the way we would do it. How old is coffee? I don't know what do you mean, like how old is the concept of coffee? I don't know. I know that probably around the time of the explorers in the 1600s is when coffee started to be kind of a mainstream item. Coffee has been grown in Africa, South America, Central America for centuries. So if it goes back farther than maybe the 1500s, I would be pretty surprised. Most likely in the areas where it was grown, they knew all about it. But I don't know. I don't know the history of coffee. If anybody else has questions and comments, get them in the comment section. We're about 28 minutes in. You never know what's going to happen. So we can talk about anything. We don't have to talk about politics. We don't have to talk about anything except whatever you want to talk about. And so I'm here for you. But if there are no questions, then it's going to be a short night, because as soon as I start getting bored, then I look for a way to get out. By the way, as I always share with you guys what I'm reading, this is what I'm reading right now. It's a novel called 1929 by Frederick Turner. Some of you may not know, but one of my favorite talents in history is Bix Beiderbecke. Or as when I told my wife 20 years ago that I was a Bix Beiderbecke fan, she said, Big Spider Bite. So she thought he was Big Spider Bite. Bix Beiderbecke. And this is actually a novel about Bix Beiderbecke in 1929. And so I have to tell you this story. So I wrote a short story anthology, time travel anthology. I don't know if I've got it here, but it is called Time in the Gloaming. I highly recommend it. Michael Bunker, Time in the Gloaming. You can find it on Amazon.com or wherever they sell books. And one of the short stories that I did was a challenge where I was going to write a short story in a day, and not only write it, but get it professionally edited, professionally formatted, and published and for sale in one day. I did that, and that story was really good. And then people were like, oh, there's no way you did that. There's no way. You had to have thought about the story beforehand because the story was so good. And so I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. Hello, Florida. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to pick some people, and they are going to give me the idea for this story, right? Anyway, none of that has anything to do with anything. I wrote this story in a day, and the story is about a guy who is an author who has writer's block. He ends up going. His dad leaves him a cottage in Georgia that used to be the cottage of a famous author from the 1920s. And that author was the most famous case of writer's block in history, who was considered to be like the new and up and coming Hemingway, better than Hemingway, had written some short stories that blew everybody away and was writing a novel, and then the novel never got published. And so this guy goes to this cottage that used to be owned by that guy. This story is called All I Can Be, and it is in my anthology, time travel anthology called Time in the Gloaming. In that story, the guy who has writer's block in modern time, who goes to the cottage to write his novel, is writing a novel about Bix Beiderbecke, who's my favorite jazz musician, died when he was 28 years old, probably the greatest trumpetist, cornetist that ever lived. And so I had this whole story in my mind, which was the fictional story that my fictional character was writing. And I've always wanted to write that novel. In fact, I've had people who have read that story, which is called All I Can Be, and they've said, are you ever going to write the Bix Beiderbecke novel that your guy is writing in this story? And I said, I would love to write it. Well, I found this novel, and this is the book I was going to write. Of course, it's not my words. It's not the exact story I would have written, but it's the same. It's what I wanted to write, which was a story about Bix Beiderbecke in 1929. And it is fantastically written. Frederick Turner is a great talent. For some of you, this will be one of the best books you've ever read. For some of you, maybe not so much. The prose is florid, extenuous. It's very Fitzgerald. It's got a cross between Hemingway and Fitzgerald, but it actually leans into Thomas Wolfe. There's a lot of florid description, what we would call today purple prose, which today is considered to be a pejorative, but it really only is a pejorative because modern Americans have bad vocabulary and they're dumb and they don't have a very good attention span. So people don't like flowery language. They don't like a lot of words describing things and all those type of things. I happen to think that those things have their place. There are parts of a story that need to be described, and the artistry of the artisan making the story ought to be displayed. And then there are times when asperity of language is very, very valuable. And so if you ever read Thomas Wolfe, now who do all these guys have in common? Thomas Wolfe, Hemingway, and F. Scott Fitzgerald, they all had the same agent, and his name was Max Perkins. Hemingway was known for a very sparse style, and Fitzgerald was a little bit more florid. Wolfe went off the charts. Chapters describing things. I mean, he is the most florid purple prose writer in history, and it's fantastic, and you ought to read it. His famous book is called Look Homeward, Angel. I'm doing all of this off the top of my mind. Everything that's happened in the last 15 minutes is just off the top of my head. My point is that this is that style, but it's that style on purpose. It's not, this guy's not a bad writer who's writing a lot of florid language because he just doesn't know any better. He's writing in the time, which is the 1920s. The prose is perfect for it. It's really, really good. It's exactly what I would have written. And this is the novel that I wanted to write. And now that I've read it, I probably won't write it. Ethan says you could still write it, just write it better. I don't know. Maybe I would love to write it just because I would love to do all the research. I would love to do all that. But now that I've read this book, maybe it ruins it for me. I don't know. This is a really good book. Anyways, I highly recommend it. If you like novels that are historic novels, this is basically a true story that's been fictionalized because nobody knows what Bix was thinking when he was basically killing himself with alcohol at the age of 28 years old. But it's a fantastic book. And so this kind of like, as I was riding a horse today for 2 hours, I was going through the story a little bit in my mind. Do I know anything about the Druids? Absolutely nothing. Other than their location and all that kind of stuff, I really don't know anything at all. Not enough to even talk about it intelligently. Coffee is as old as Abram. Hebrews. That's just a bad joke. That's just an old joke. They use the same joke. It was like, coffee was invented by men, Hebrews. Yeah, Danielle, you see Big Spider Bite. Big Spiderbeck. You guys look them up. It's my type of jazz, which is original jazz, the first jazz, the earliest jazz, Dixieland, whatever you want to call it, hot jazz, Louis Armstrong, Bix Beiderbecke, Jack Trumbauer, all those guys, just the best stuff. All right, everybody, I've been waiting for questions and comments. Can you talk a little bit about how our current situation compares to the Russian Revolution? Yeah, it compares very well. The Russian Revolution, a book I recommend people read is a book by Mikhail. That's the second time I forgot. It's Softly Flows the Don is the name of the book. D-O-N, the Don River. I'm not going to be able to think of the guy's name. Anyway, Softly Flows the Dawn, which talks a little bit about the beginning of the revolution. And then there's another book called Fathers and Sons by Ivan Turgenev, which I highly recommend. And so how they compare, we have a generation of very wealthy, bored, apathetic, a generation of people who have been given everything, participation trophies, and they have a Jesus complex where they think it's their job to save the world. And because of that, they have, and because they have no concept of hard work and no concept of what it's like to build a civilization, how many thousands of years it takes, and how many eggs get broken building a civilization, they think they can do it better. And this is what happened in the Russian Revolution. There was an entire generation who were Western educated instead of Eastern educated. They were sent to Germany and to France, where they learned from lazy, spoiled, very rich white socialists and Marxists who figured they could use the poor and the concept of poverty to save the world or whatever, and destroyed everything and killed hundreds of millions of people. And so we're kind of in that same type of situation. There's a generation that is so disconnected from any reality of hard work or what it takes to build a civilization or to maintain it, who have been taught historical revisionism and have been taught to hate their country, to hate the people, to hate the race, to hate everything else about everything. And they absolutely think that they are more righteous than anybody else that came before them, and they can fix everything. And they stand on the only sole hill of righteousness, looking down on the rest of society, thinking, oh my gosh, everybody else is a racist, fascist, except me. And so that when you have a generation of those people, and in our case, as well as in the Soviet Union prior to the Russian Revolution, where those people are insulated from any repercussions or any responsibility or any opposite opinions or ideas, and consider themselves to be martyrs for a cause greater than themselves, even though it's really all about themselves, then you have a recipe for a civil war and revolution. All right, let me look here. Hello, I'm watching you from Gaza, Palestine. All right. I like what you do too. Thank you, Mansoor. Primal Man coffee was discovered by a shepherd whose herd was acting erratic. He then discovered they were eating coffee cherries. Oh, makes sense. Makes sense. I've been in Central America where the coffee grows and the coffee trees and had food and chicken. Chicken cooked on coffee wood is the best chicken you will ever eat in your life. Hello, Hava. Are coffee cherries still available? I think coffee cherry is just the fruit that the bean comes in. But I think you can order whatever you want online. You like my daughter? You want to give her your heart? I'm sorry. That's not going to. I have 3 daughters. One is married. One has a boyfriend. The other is too young. Sorry about. Pardon me. Sorry about that. Not going to work out. All right, everybody. If you got questions or comments, we're at 40 minutes, so now's the time to get them in. If you have any, oh no, hold on, I got to plug my. We may be done before that. Hold your space. Starting to run out of power. All right, I almost ran out of power. Well, you followed me when I was fat. Well, I'm glad I'm not fat anymore, especially with this COVID going around. What do you think drives communism? Why do they want to completely control people? What drives communism is a sense of self-righteousness, an idea that the individual is so completely besotted with their own righteousness that other people can't possibly know or care as much as they do. And so they look at things and they think the only thing that can fix this is if I'm a God and I can absolutely declare what everybody else is going to do. And they want to sit in that chair. They want to be the ones holding the reins. Of course, they never are. So, anyways, that's what drives it is a sense of self-righteousness. There has never been a communist who wasn't self-righteous, who didn't think that they could fix everything if only they had enough power. If everybody would completely give up their power, they would have it and they would make everything right. Of course, they have to kill everybody that stands in their way of having that power. And that's what happens. Why do people think, why do they want to completely control people? Because they think that they're better than those people and they think that they can help those people or help themselves or help everybody if they had absolute total control. Please stay, don't leave. I'm not going anywhere. What is my favorite survival movie? One of my favorite survival movies, probably off the top of my head, is The Earthling. This movie is probably 1980s, early 1980s. Everybody ought to watch that movie. It used to be a rite of passage around here. Everybody had to watch that movie. It's not a survival movie per se, other than basically a young boy is in Australia. And he is with his parents, and they're on a caravan, which is what we would call a camper RV trip. And the spoiler alert, the parents are killed when the RV goes off a cliff. And the little boy, who's, I don't know, 9, 10, 12 years old, something like that, is out in the outback and will die, absolutely die, because he doesn't have any survival skills. And he comes upon a man who is dying of cancer and who has gone into the outback to die. And he has all the skills of the outback, but he's going there to die because he's got cancer and he's going to die. He doesn't have enough strength or energy to take the boy back to civilization, so he knows he'll die. And if he dies, the boy will die. So he has to teach this boy to survive in a very short amount of time before he dies of cancer. One of the best movies ever. It's called The Earthling. There's also some other good survival movies and shows. I'd have to think about it some more. I'll come back and maybe do that as an episode in the show. I look very sport man now. Well, it's only because I can't afford clothes, and so I have to get them at the thrift store. And since I'm working out all the time, I buy workout clothing. All right. It's the first time a foreigner called your name, well, Mansoor. I hope I said it okay. All right, if everybody's out there, if you're out there, come in and say hi. Make sure you hit the like button. I have to lecture everybody because I want to tell you that the way this show is going to be successful, despite all of its hindrances, is everybody needs to go over to YouTube and find Michael Bunker on YouTube. Find my channel, like it, subscribe, comment after the show is over. But I want to tell you something else. I just last night worked all day yesterday putting out a video of my 24-hour McDonald's challenge. But it's not on my regular channel. It's not on the channel you're watching right now. It's on my BunkFit channel. So you need to go to YouTube and look up Michael Bunker and look up BunkFit, BUNKFIT. I put a link in it in the description here on YouTube. So when you find this video, go in the description. There's a link to that video and there's a link to that channel. Make sure you subscribe to that channel and like that video. I'm trying to build up that channel as well so that I can afford to do all of this and to help everybody and to answer questions because I can't afford to do it. All right. Yes, we collect rainwater. We have water catchment on just about every building that we have. I have water catchment off the back of this office. We have water catchment at the front. Large 2,500 gallon tanks off of those buildings, and then we have a 3,300 gallon cistern up at the front building. Well, I don't know why your friends don't call your name. They ought to. People like to hear their name, and it's valuable. All right, everybody. I appreciate you guys being here. We're getting towards the end. As always, God bless you. Go to michaelbunker.com. You can donate there. You can go right up in this area, hit the button, and you can subscribe and give money every month, even if it's $1, $5, $10, $20, $100, whatever you want to do. But make sure you hit the like button. That's the way we keep going. All right, everybody, God bless you. Lord willing, we'll do another show maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. I can't tell you exactly when, but come back. If you're subscribed to the channel, if you hit the bell icon, you're going to get alerts every time I go live. We always be glad here to answer your questions and all that kind of stuff. Thank you all. God bless you. I love you, and I'll talk to you again soon. If, like I said, if not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe the next day, but we'll see.